Welcome back to the podcast. I have a very special guest with me today. Her name is Debi Talbert, and we met in a program last year. But the thing that stood out to me the most about Debi was this light in her eyes. She just had this amazing enthusiasm and joy for the work that she does, and most beautiful smile. As you can see, if you're watching on YouTube, you can see Debi's beautiful smile. Welcome to the show, Debi. I'm so excited to have you here.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here too. And it's been on and off trying to get it all figured out, but we got it figured out. And
We
I really feel
finally
like the
did.
timing was perfect.
It couldn't
So
be
thank you
better.
so much for having me here.
You're
I'm
so
very excited.
welcome. Me too. Debbie, can you introduce yourself? Tell us more about who you are. What do you do?
Sure, I'll be happy to do it. Okay, so for really what I do, I'm a life coach. And the reason I am a life coach is because for most of my life, I felt like that I needed to be quote unquote perfect just to be like accepted in the world and to fit in. I was very shy, introverted. I battled my inner critic a lot. I didn't really like what I saw in the mirror. I had all these endless worries about what people thought of me, and I just really felt like I had to be like this perfect size in order to fit in, and always wearing like this big fake smile on my face, but yet dying inside. And
Mm.
then I had this chance encounter with a life coach on a flight. So I'm a retired flight attendant.
Okay.
And on that flight, he taught me how I could change without changing my circumstances. I could actually change how I was feeling and my
Mm.
overall happiness level simply by changing what I was thinking.
Wow.
And so from that, I started applying that and using it. And I first started using it around body image. And then
Mm.
the more I did the work and the more I did things, it started to make a difference. Then menopause hit and all of that body image stuff started to come back. And I even ended up finding myself over drinking alcohol. So what I did when I was stuck, and I was stuck in that process of over drinking alcohol for like a decade.
Wow.
But I remembered what this, and I was drinking while this person had told me this, but I finally remembered to apply the 5 words that he told me.
Mm.
And so I started using, so what do I want every time I was going to have a drink so that I could find out what was it helping me with and really find out the truth and then change it.
Mm.
And when that made a change, that's when I decided I needed to pivot, kind of get certified, find out how I could help other people not feel like I was feeling. Because I
Mm.
knew just based on the flying I was doing and the women I worked with, a lot of it was happening there, especially in the years where it's pre-menopause, post-menopause, the menopause years, all that stuff was happening. And also because of the societal messaging we get around what we're supposed to look like. And
Yeah.
so all of that. And so I knew that I wanted to be able to help in some way. And so that's when I started transitioning. And so I was doing it while I was flying and doing it part time and doing it. And so that's how I got into life coaching. I am
Mm.
also married to my husband for 27 years, my second husband. And then we have 4 kids together and we have 5 grandkids. And so my grandkids are now like a big part of the motivation as to why I do what I do. On top of the fact that I too want to be able to thrive and be mentally, physically, and cognitively capable the entire time I'm alive.
Mm.
So I do
Yeah.
things on purpose to help myself be able to do that. And so that I can be the grandmother that's in the experiences, does the playing, but also be even like a resource that they come to for support, counsel, guidance, and help. And so
Mm.
those are really the kind of women that I help too.
That is absolutely amazing, Debbie, that you've taken all of these different facets of yourself, like your story of being a flight attendant, and then the story of how you became a life coach, those 5 words. You really are taking from every part of your experience and flipping the script and making that your advantage. You're now able to help other people do the very thing that you struggled with. Help them discover their own purpose and their gifting and really make this stage of their life, like postmenopausal stage of their life, the most beautiful one yet. That is incredible. And I especially love those 5 words. So what do I want? And I can tell that like
Exactly.
right now, it's being able to be there for your grandchildren. Like it, that
It
is such a
is.
big part of it.
But to
Wow.
be there in a way that is supportive for them, but yet I can participate with them and do things for them. And that
Hmm.
is genuinely what I actually do want. And one of the things I do notice as I'm working with people, and it might be too as you're working with people, you might find this when you ask people what they actually want, they don't know. They
Hmm.
do know what they don't want,
That is so true. Tell me more
but
about
they
that.
don't actually know what they do want.
That is crazy. And
But part
how,
of that is the brain's
yeah.
design.
Okay, this is a topic I've been wanting to pick your brain about. Tell me more about that. What about the brain's design helps us like flip the script and actually figure out what do we want?
Well, the first part, you want to understand why it is that you know totally for sure what you don't want. And the
Hmm.
brain's design has what is a negativity bias in it. So the
Yeah.
best way I can know how to describe it and help people to kind of like really picture what's going on is the spaghetti strainer, right?
Hmm.
And you're making the pasta, and then you're gonna put the pasta, the hot water stuff in the strainer.
Yeah.
Well, within your brain, the negative things that are happening to your brain, they're very sticky, like the pasta sticks in the strainer. The positive
Yeah.
things are like the water that are draining out quickly down into the sink.
Huh.
So the reason why you know what you don't want is because it's stickier in the brain and it
Hmm.
has that negativity bias to do its job, which is to keep you safe or to be efficient, like save energy
Yeah.
kind of thing. So it makes sense why it's designed that way. And we don't really want it to go away. But if
Hmm.
you understand it, then you can understand why you don't really know what it is you want. And it's not that anything has gone wrong. It's simply that the positive things and the great things that are happening, you need to actually focus on paying attention to them on purpose.
Hmm.
And so when you understand the brain's design, you can drop thinking something's gone wrong because you don't know what you want
Yeah.
and really just go, oh, that's it because it kind of washed through like the pasta down and drained the water, right? Like, and then kind of like, okay, well, what do I? So that's why those 5 questions actually work. You pause
Mm.
yourself, you slow yourself down, and you
Hmm.
get yourself to think, okay, so what do I actually want? And so the first
Hmm.
place you can try doing that is when you notice yourself complaining, stop and ask yourself, what do I want? So that's
Yeah.
one of the ways you can start kind of discovering what it is you genuinely want because you're what you're
Mhm.
complaining about is telling you what you don't want. So if I don't want
Yeah.
that, what do I want instead?
That is such an incredible formula. It's simple, easy to
Mm-hmm.
remember, and something
Right.
someone can go and do right now. So, for the listener listening, like I want you to take a moment right now, like even pause the episode and ask yourself, so what do I want? And if things come up that you don't want, do what Debbie says and go deeper on that, like figure out why. Figure out why. And what do you say? What do you think people should do next? Like once they figure it out why they don't want what they don't want,
Mhm.
how do they go about figuring out what they actually do want and then go and get it?
Well, the first part is you could tell yourself all the whys why you don't want it, but if you don't really slow down and get yourself to honestly say, but I want this. And some
Hmm.
of that can come from and really being truthful with yourself. Because sometimes we might complain about our job, right?
Hmm.
But yet we do want it because we want what the paycheck gives us.
Yeah.
So you really got to start also practicing telling yourself like the whole truth all the way through, so to speak.
Mhm.
And so when you're noticing in yourself complaining, it's like, okay, yeah, I don't want to have to get up at this hour or whatever it is, like, right? But what I do want is the paycheck that I get on Fridays or whatever day you get it from that. So what can I start telling myself instead of, no, I
Hmm.
don't like getting up at this hour, but I do like what I get at the end. So it's really kind
Mm.
of because many things in life too are there's a I like this part and I don't like this part.
Everything has two sides.
Right. So we don't have to change it all. And then the other
Yeah.
part is just really paying attention to your complaining and just start practicing writing down what would the opposite be. If I had the like my ideal of whatever this thing is I'm complaining about,
Hmm.
getting yourself to open up to what might that be. Because
Mm.
and it also makes sense why we don't want to slow down and do that. Because for the brain, that takes energy. That's going to
Yeah.
take cognitive thinking, and the brain is designed to save energy. So this is
Hmm.
also why change is hard
It is
because
hard.
the brain is like, yeah, but we don't want to do that, really. Do we have to do that? Like, really think of like toddlers and they're having
Hmm.
that fit when you tell them they can't have something, right? It's simply because they want what they want.
Mm.
And so your brain is really behaving like a toddler
Hmm.
sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
And so that's really kind of like, so really getting yourself to be honest, slowing down and understanding the really key part is having kindness towards yourself and
Hmm.
understanding, well, it makes sense why I don't really know. I haven't slowed down enough to think about it. And oh, by the way, my brain doesn't really want to because that takes energy.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
then, like, so that could be the next thing is just slowing down enough to
Yeah.
really answer that. What would it be? Since I know I'm complaining and I don't want this, what would it actually be?
Yeah.
And you can, and another way to do it
Mm.
is when you're connecting and engaging with people to get yourself practicing, just thinking about what you do want instead of saying, don't touch that, you start saying, leave that alone because you're
Mm.
saying what you want.
Interesting.
So if you take, if so, anytime you catch yourself wanting to say don't, pause and go, okay, well, I really want you to leave that where it is, like if it's your toddler or whatever it is,
Yeah.
or put the dishes in the sink. Don't say, don't leave the dishes in the sink. Put the dishes in the dishwasher. So if you can
Hmm.
pause yourself enough too and start practicing really thinking about what is it I want in this moment,
Yeah.
then it's a little trick and it's you're really getting your brain thinking about
Yeah.
the outcomes you want and
Yeah.
the
It's a way to
results you want.
practice. It's a way to
Mm,
practice it in daily life. Because then when you're
right.
encountered with when it really, really matters, like if you're pivoting in a business, you have to answer the question, what do I actually want? And both of us have a pivot story. If you're a longtime listener of the podcast, you'll have heard my story, and I actually want to hear a bit more of your pivots that you've done. But on the topic of just switching that script, that is powerful. It's really powerful. And I think something that can also help is, at least what I've found for myself, is I notice that I have certain phrases in my mind. So for me, a phrase is, I hate that I have to, whatever it is. That's like
Mm-hmm.
my trigger. I'm like, oh, I need to pause. Why am I thinking I hate that I have to this? I'm making myself the victim here. I'm putting myself
Yeah.
as a victim. And then it's easy to get trapped in that. Like if you don't actually take the pause and you're like, what do I actually want? Like, why am I feeling like this? Kind of take the step back. You can stay there. And some people, I think they stay there for decades. They stay in that victim mentality for decades. And before we keep moving on to, I actually want to hear your pivot story. I have one more question for you. Why do you think people stay in that victim mentality?
Because they're really not taught that that's what's happening to them. They
Mm,
honestly don't know.
hmm.
And so it's really another part of it is your brain has a it's called the reticular activator system.
Yeah.
So it is paying attention to, and so when you're saying all these things you don't want, you're noticing how your life isn't fair. You're noticing how your life
Mm,
is full of all these things you don't want because you've also given your brain that job of noticing and paying attention. And the reticular activator system part of your brain, again, it has to do with your safety and efficiency, but you're because your brain is taking in every single thing that happens around you. Sight, sound, smells, where everything. And if we were really consciously aware of all of it, plus it's like telling your body to operate the way it operates, right? So if we had to be consciously aware of all that, we would literally probably go insane. Like, like there'd be so
Yeah.
much information going on, right? So its job is to only filter out and bring to your attention what it thinks is important. So because you're complaining and you're telling yourself all these things about, I don't want this, I don't like this, I don't, and even like what you were saying about not having to, like, you don't like what you're having to do, or you're selling yourself, I should do this, you should a lot,
Hmm.
then, or even I need a lot,
Yeah.
instead of really focusing and going, I want,
Hmm.
like, because the truth is, yes, you need the paycheck or income of some kind
Hmm.
in the way our society's designed. However, you also want it.
Yeah. There's a lot of
So
good
it's
things
kind of
about
like
it too.
that kind of thing. And so
Yeah.
it's really knowing that, oh, my reticular activation system is at work here. How can I point it, direct it, and guide it?
Mm. Yeah, you move towards your most prominent thought. And if
Yeah,
you stay in that victim side of things, you are going to continue there.
you will. And you won't even realize what's happening and you won't
Yeah.
understand.
Hmm.
And it's very similar to like, say you're going to buy a car
Hmm.
and you decide, I'm going to buy a white minivan, right?
Hmm.
Because maybe they don't see what, I don't know. I don't have a minivan, whatever. But then you decide I'm going to buy
Yeah.
a white minivan, and
Yeah.
you're thinking, I never see them. That's so awesome. I'm gonna have the car nobody has. Then you're on your way to get the car, and the next thing you know, all you see are white minivans on your way there.
Hmm.
But that's only they were always there.
Yeah.
But it's because you decided, and so then your brain is giving attention based on your
Hmm.
reticular activator system
Yeah.
to the white minivans on the road on the way there.
Exactly.
So it's the
Exactly.
same kind of
RAS.
concept.
It
Yeah.
is so powerful, and you can use it for you or against you. It
Right.
can be
And so
for you or
that's really
against you.
where the different, and I think that's what you talk about, like too, right? Is you can
Hmm.
train your brain. You
Yeah,
can direct your brain. You can tell
exactly.
it what to do.
Hmm.
We really
Precisely.
can tell it what to do.
How do you think that plays a role in pivots, like making a pivot in business specifically? How does your reticular activating system play a role there?
Well, okay, so because you said you want, like, so when I made the pivot, so I've
Yeah, tell
made
me
kind
the
of a pivot
story.
since we talked.
Uh-huh.
So I really was looking at my business and asking myself a lot of what, because I was complaining about a lot of things in it. So I was like, okay, so what do I want? What parts
Hmm.
do I like? So then I realized the parts that I liked. And part of what was happening too was I'd only seen businesses done in a specific way, like a coaching business, and kind of what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So I hadn't seen other examples. So I didn't necessarily open my mind up to other possibilities, but I knew these very specific parts I did not care like doing. And it wasn't that I couldn't figure them out and that I wasn't capable of them. I genuinely didn't like it. And so
Mm-hmm.
I started like, what are the parts I like? What are the parts I don't like? And then I actually used AI, and I was
Hmm.
told it like, I'm a coach and I help people with this. And these are the parts I like doing. And these are the parts I definitely don't want to do. So help me design my particular signature coaching package. And that's how I got it.
I
After I
love
start,
that.
and it was really that, like, so what do I want? Question, right? It
Yeah.
helped again. And so then I used, and then it gave me all these different ideas, and some of them were like crazy off the wall ideas, but which is what I told it. I said, give me anything off the wall, just anything, be very imaginative kind of thing. And so then all the ideas, and then I combined a bunch of things that I liked
Hmm.
and had it put together kind of a package. And then so now I'm just focusing on, instead of a group that I was doing, I'm doing a one-on-one package. And it's, I call it flight plan because I bring in the flight plan part, and I help you do your own oxygen mask principles
I
and
love that.
exit certain behaviors. And I bring all that in because that's a part of my life. And
Hmm.
so that's kind of how I designed it. And so I did all that. And so the AI tool helped me with the actual design of it after I kept saying, so what do I want? What don't I
Hmm.
want? What do I like? What I don't like? And so again, when you're catching yourself within a pivot and you're really just not happy,
Hmm.
this is again slowing down
Yeah.
and paying attention to asking yourself, what do I want?
I can see how that question sets up your RAS, the reticular activating system, for success. Because then you're actually looking for what do I actually like about this particular coaching platform or coaching package? What do I enjoy doing? What gives me joy? What gives other people joy? What do I excel at? It puts everything in the positive light, in the light that you really are capable of designing the life of your dreams, the life that you maybe have been procrastinating on designing your entire life. And then you go and find Debbie and go work with her to go design that later in life. And that is why developing your brain is so important. So let's dive a little bit more into what you've done with the brain. So, what is the most important area of the brain you think to develop? And if you've already mentioned it, let me know. But I'm curious. Curious what your thoughts are there.
Well, I really think that it's really developing the understanding that you can train it, you can direct it,
Hmm.
and that it's your thoughts that have the most power, like your beliefs,
Ah, thoughts
like
and beliefs.
your thoughts and beliefs, because what you think is really going to experience is create the emotions that you're experiencing,
Hmm.
and from those emotions, you behave from that emotional experience you're having, and
Hmm.
you're having that emotional experience because of something you're thinking and believing,
Yeah.
and then your behaviors are creating the return investment on your life because you're believing that thought, because it makes you
It's all
feel a certain
connected.
way and it makes you behave a certain way, and that's the return on investment you're getting
Hmm.
from participating in and practicing that thought. And so you have the power to really rethink it
Mm.
and decide, is this thought serving me?
Hmm.
And a lot of times, many of our thoughts come from societal conditioning, from
Tell
what
me more about that.
society's taught us. So from like, even so, like when I was talking about how when I was younger and I always felt like I had to be a certain size and fit in. When I
Hmm.
grew up, it was a lot, and I think it's still happening, that you're taught as women that what you look like
Hmm.
impacts things. And part of that is true. People do have a prejudice, a bias, and it's unconscious. And the unconscious part of it for other people comes in from all the messaging that we're getting. So we get messaging from social media. We get messaging. I didn't get messaging as a kid from social media. It wasn't around, but we got messages from television,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
And so all the messages and the images that you're portrayed and the messaging that you get, it's all signaled around. Even like rich people behave like this,
Hmm.
poor people behave like this, people that overdrink behave like this, people that don't behave like this, people
Hmm.
that look like this behave like this, people this color look like this, do like this, people this color do like this, right? So we're getting all these things from the media, from school, from our friends, from all kinds of places in our life. So it's
Hmm.
many of these unconscious things that are happening within
Yeah.
us. And so when you can slow down and understand, oh, I'm having this thought, it makes sense why I would have it, but I don't have to keep it.
It's not an excuse.
But it is like that part of it. And is I don't have to actually listen to it, because we're never going to
Hmm.
get rid of our thoughts.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah. A
going to be
question.
there,
Yeah.
but do we have to listen to it?
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. A question that I often ask myself on that topic is whose voice am I hearing? Like, is it
yeah.
actually my like calm, conscious, aware voice? Or is it an outside voice? Like, is it society that I'm actually hearing? Or is it someone I don't want with their input in my life? Is it their voice that I'm hearing? And becoming more aware of whose voice you're actually hearing and who is influencing you, what is influencing you, you're actually able to then start speaking compassionately towards yourself and make sure that your words are having a positive impact on your own life. So I know that that's an area that you're very passionate about as well, is like how you talk to yourself. Tell me more about that. I'm really curious.
Well, because of the way you talk to yourself. So take even the word, like when I work when I listen and I'm out and about, and a lot on the airplane because I was around thousands of people all the time. And just the word old, people have they think, oh, slow,
Hmm.
irrelevant, dread, decaying. Most of the time, those are the first kinds of thoughts that come when they hear the word old.
Mm.
And so, of course, as you're aging, on top of the messaging we're all getting about anti-aging and let's not age when we can't do much about that. We are going to age, but
Hmm.
it's a matter of
Yeah.
what are you going to do? Like, what are you going to tell yourself about it?
Hmm.
But if in your own mind, if your meaning and the definition and how you picture the word old, and every time you think of it, you think those disempowering words, then of course you're going to want to do everything you possibly can to fight getting there
Yeah.
instead of really realizing, oh, but what if this is my perfect? I kind of think of it as your second opportunity, as the
Mm.
second childhood,
Hmm.
right? With
In a
all
good
your
way.
adult knowledge, right? In a good, like with all your adult knowledge,
Yeah.
you get to play again, you get to experiment again, you
Mm.
get to bring all that adult knowledge into your life now and your
Mm.
experiences and kind of slow down and design what it is you actually want.
Wow.
And so it's just the power of simply shifting one word
Mm.
that can make a difference
Yeah.
and it could be even shifting the meaning you give to one word.
Yeah. Yeah. Words are like cities. It's like they have this entire landscape of ups and downs and valleys and all of these different nuances to them, and you get to decide what it means. Like old, when if and maybe this could be a good exercise for the person listening. They can think of a word that they're currently defining themselves as, and then list out how do they currently think of that word? How do they currently define it? And then decide what are some other meanings that this word could have? Like the dictionary is a fantastic place to go. Debbie and I,
Exactly.
we love the dictionary for that reason. And decide that this is your new script. Like old, it means wise. And you've refined so many systems. You've learned so much. You know, right before we hit record, Debbie told me something that completely blew my mind. She was telling me, I'll just give the little synopsis and then you can expand on it, Debbie. You told me that when you age, yes, there are things that decline. There are certain things in your body that are going to decline. But there's actually this other part of your abilities that increase. And I think you put it like this: your understanding of your own skill sets and how to use them. Is that what it was? Tell me, the way you said it was brilliant.
Okay, yeah. So there's a the book that was it was written in 1971, but it's still like science backed now. It still turns out to be true. But the book is called Abilities, Their Structure, Growth, and Action. And it
Ah,
discusses the two types of intelligence. And there's the fluid intelligence, which when you're younger, it is very quick, very fast, and that's like it's enhanced the most in your younger years, and that's really like your ability to reason, think flexibly, solve complex problems, innovate new ideas, and recall the information quickly. But that is the fluid intelligence is also the part of the brain that does decline as we age. So think of it like there's a librarian and the younger librarian can quickly go get the book, grab it off the shelf, and bring it right back to you. But yet, when you're the um as you get older, the librarian might be slower to go get the book, but yet they know exactly where it is and what's in that book and exactly how to explain it to you that you could put it into play in your real life. And so that's
mm,
called like the crystallized intelligence area. And so
hmm,
that's really your ability to accumulate knowledge that you learned in the past. That's the part that increases with age and your ability to actually teach someone how to apply it in real life scenarios and circumstances also increases as you age.
hmm. That's
And so
amazing.
that's where the difference. So if you can learn and accept, yes, these particular parts may decline, it doesn't mean they're going to disappear, but they may
Hmm.
be decline and you won't be at your peak and masterful at them like you
Hmm.
were.
Hmm.
Yet this other part you can become masterful at. So if I know this, then how can I start to put things in my life on purpose that will help me pivot into utilizing and taking advantage of that part that is now happening for you in your life.
Hmm. Wow, that's powerful. I'm having an epiphany as you're saying this. The word pivot itself, if you think about like a teeter-totter, like you pivot on one point. This one point is the same on either end that this
Right.
teeter-totter is resting on. It's the same experiences, the same things, the same skills. You just pivot and you switch it around, even though it's the same, what's the word? Foundation. It's the same foundation. And you're able to then use it to your advantage. What a powerful shift. That's
Exactly.
incredible.
Because then that means you can stop. You don't have to keep telling yourself, oh, but my life is half over and there's nothing I can do.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like, oh no, but wait, this part of
Hmm.
my brain is going to get even better. I wonder what I can do
Yeah.
with it.
Yeah.
And I think
Exactly.
and I only just learned that recently, these two parts of it, right? And so I
Hmm.
think that that's why I feel like I'm thriving so much now that I'm a coach, because that is
Mm.
actually what I get to do. And that
Yeah.
is actually how the AI tool ended up designing kind of the package that I put together. So
Mm.
it's less about
Fascinating.
me having to design workbooks
Yeah.
and workshops myself,
Yeah.
and more about me taking the resources, putting them together based on the individual's unique circumstance and what they uniquely want to create, and then
Mm.
putting it together and helping them put that and apply it into their life.
Yeah.
So it is allowing me to use that the way it's designed now.
Wow.
And really once I knew that part, then I was like, oh, I get it. Now that's why I understand too why I don't necessarily like those parts so much. It is
Yes.
why.
Yeah, you don't have to like it, but you can still want what you want. You can still
Right.
want to change and want to use the best sides of you and really take all of the skills and use it to your advantage. And what I love so much is that you took that information, you took that knowledge about your own brain, and now you're using this newfound ability that you actually always had, and you're doing applying that to other people's lives. That is one of the most selfless things that I've ever heard of. You're such a leader, Debbie.
Thanks. Thanks.
That is so inspiring. And Debbie, to end with, I'd love to know where can people find you? What is the best place
Um,
to find you?
the best place to find me is agingflipped.com.
Okay,
That's the website. And then I also have a podcast, Aging Flipped. And those are
amazing.
the two best resources. And then the program itself for a person that
Yeah,
might be interested in one-on-one coaching is agingflip.com/program.
perfect. That's really, really easy to remember, but I'll also make sure all the links are in the description. Great. Debbie, it's
Yeah.
just been an honor having you on the podcast.
You
These
too.
30
Thank
minutes
you
were like
so much.
the highlight of my day, truly. You are such a joy, and I can see that you embody what you teach. You, as I started the episode off, like you have this light in your eyes that just it exudes from the camera. You're no longer that person who smiles with her face but then feels dead on the inside. Like you told your story about. It really
Right.
comes through and it's so beautiful to see. So I
Thank you.
cannot
Thank you
wait
so much.
to continue seeing how you evolve, how you continue growing. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.